a really rainy day here in London. It makes me want to be incredibly cozy and wear cozy sweatpants and sweaters and scarves and mittens and things. I thought, I could just talk to you about what cozy things I want to make while wearing said cozy things. So I was going to give you a bit of an update on what I'm knitting right now. I have 2 projects on the go, which is very unlike me. More to that in a moment. And also some autumn knitting plans. I have some ideas of what I want to knit. I'm starting to feel the pressure for Christmas knitting, and I kind of want to get ahead of that, and I want to do some knitting before December 1st hits, so I'm not sort of scrambling like a mad woman. But will I be able to prepare in time for Christmas? I don't know. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I have no idea, but I think it's worth talking about some patterns that have really caught my eye, and what I've been gravitating towards and why, and what yarn I would knit them with too, maybe, like using up some of my stash yarn. Speaking of stash yarn, it's so funny. I have this drawer in a big sort of dresser upstairs with my yarn, and I don't know. I guess like my boyfriend has never had a reason to sort of go into it, but he was looking for something and he opened the drawer. He thought I was a full-on hoarder. And I must say, I think my yarn stash is like relatively small for someone who's been knitting for like 3.5 years, because I'm pretty good at ordering or purchasing yarn for projects. And so my leftover yarn is like an extra ball here and there for projects. But of course, like when you've been knitting for a couple of years, like that does really add up. I'm pretty good at not just buying yarn for the sake of buying yarn, though it is hard to not buy yarn for the sake of buying yarn. But anyway, so he thought I was a full-on hoarder. And all I could think of was, oh my gosh, this is a small stash. And I have sort of here and there been working through it, but like I do have some extra balls. So perhaps this autumn I will dip into that stash, as we all say we will, but will we? I don't know. Anyways, grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and you're knitting, and let's chat. So, 2 projects I have on the go right now are the cloud sweaters by Petite Knit, and I say cloud sweaters because I'm knitting both. One is the Mohair version, like the lighter version, and one is the classic sort of heavier version. And I started knitting the cloud sweater in the Mohair. This is what it looks like. It could have been like February or March, something like that. And the sleeves, I didn't have the right size needle. I didn't have double pointed needles in the right size. And by the time I had ordered this needle, which is not a double pointed needle, but it is worth actually talking about. It's Chia goes, I think it's like their 9-inch needle or something. It's super small. It's like made for socks or mittens or small things, but it's very small, and it's really perfect for sleeves if you like knitting in the round and you're not a fan of the magic loop method, because sometimes with double pointed needles, knitting a sleeve I find can be kind of tedious. Although I do sort of like the action of it, but anyway, sometimes it can feel awkward and the double pointed needle can get stuck in the sleeve, and it sometimes drives me crazy. So this teeny tiny needle has completely solved that issue for me. It's been a bit of an adjustment, sort of getting used to this small thing, but otherwise, like, you can just kind of go around and around and around, and I would totally recommend it. It has made knitting this sleeve wonderful, but I feel like I've been knitting this for a long time, and it's only because I just keep abandoning it. I'm one to never have two projects on the go for this reason, but my goal is to finish this sleeve perhaps over the weekend. So I think I can do it, and I think then I can put my little signature on the back and I can wear it because it's cold and miserable, and autumn seems like a perfect time to wear like a mohair sweater. I knit this in holding 2 strands of Isager silk mohair, which I think is my favorite mohair, because it's just so soft. Like it can sit sort of on my neck. It doesn't irritate me. It's warm, it's cozy, it's light and airy like a cloud. And I really like the color. I also really like the color because it's the same color as my cat. Insert cat here. And for a while when I was knitting this, first when I abandoned it, maybe in April, she was sleeping on it all the time and licking it and grooming it, which I thought was very cute. But then I realized, I probably should do something more with this because I had made it so far. It can't just be a cat bed, right? It's like a really nice sweater, and I think it'll fit beautifully. Like when I tried on the one sleeve, it was great. I love, I'm gonna wear it with jeans, I'm gonna wear it with black jeans, I'm gonna wear it with trousers. I had this whole idea, I was gonna wear it with trousers and some ballet flats, and it would be like a cute little kind of going out to dinner outfit, or wearing it around the house because it's extra cozy. But again, not too heavy. Like some knitted sweaters don't really invite indoor wear time. Does that make sense? Because that's how I feel sometimes, that I'm like, oh, I want like a lighter sweater because inside it's warm. And there's nothing worse than feeling like overheated. But yeah, I really think that this sweater will be a great addition to my closet, and also a good sort of testament in finishing what you started. This being what I started. So this I will be knitting this weekend, and the weather looks miserable all weekend, so I will be finishing this, and the next time we chat, maybe it'll be done and maybe I'll be wearing it. Just saying. Manifesting. So the next thing I'm knitting, so the next thing I'm knitting is the other cloud sweater by Petite Knit in this beautiful yellow Eco Soft yarn. So I'm holding 1 strand of Eco Soft and 1 strand of knitting for olive silk mohair. And I didn't think I would ever knit a yellow sweater, and yet the more this grows, the happier I am that it's yellow. Like it's this like buttery, beautiful yellow sweater that I think will just look really cute with like white pants, khakis, corduroys, whatever. And I knit it definitely on the larger side, but that was kind of the point. I wanted it to be a little larger. I saw this J. Crew sweater with a rolled neck a few months ago, and I thought, that's cute. I want a rolled neck sweater. And I knew I already had one in the works with the Mohair cloud sweater, but I wanted one a little heavier too. So here I am knitting the same pattern, just in the heavier version. And I'm so happy with how this roll has been working out. And I love this like detailing with the ribbing. I actually think it's so beautiful, and I think it'll wear so well over the winter, because it just seems so cozy, and the Eco Soft is so soft and not itchy, and I kind of like that it has that cotton core. Eco Soft, if you don't know the yarn, this is my first time knitting with it, by the way, but it's this kind of very fluffy alpaca and cotton mix of a yarn, and the core of it is cotton, and then I think the fluffiness is the alpaca. but the cotton adds this like lightness that sometimes the alpaca I find can be really a warm material, which is perfect for winter, but makes it hard to wear inside and sort of makes it hard to get full use out of the sweater if you're just kind of uncomfortable when you're wearing it inside. So how I've gotten around that, my logic is that with the cotton core, it just, it gives this lightness, this breathability, while also providing warmth, but not too warm. So I'm really excited about this. I'm going on a trip to sunny Greece next week and escaping the cold and rainy London weather. And I will be bringing this and finishing the sleeves and have lots of kind of quiet time to knit, and I'm so excited. And oh, you know how I was talking about that the mini Chiago needle? See, it gets around this issue, which I love a double pointed needle. I do love a double pointed needle. No shade to those that are loyal to the double pointed needles, but you know, the most annoying thing is when it goes like this and you're knitting and it gets caught. And maybe it's just the way I knit because I'm an English style knitter, not a continental style. So perhaps like it's a more active motion is kind of what I'm thinking. If continental is all in your left hand, like I just wonder if maybe it's me. Maybe it's not the needle, but maybe it's me. Otherwise, this has been a really fun sweater to knit. I feel like it's knit up kind of fast because it's a bit of a thicker yarn. I knitted on one needle size bigger, so I think the pattern is written for a size 6 or 7, and I knitted on a size 8 because I'm a tighter knitter, and I've just found it works. My knitting style works better with petite knit when I size up. So I've been sizing up lately, and I've actually had a ton of success sort of then getting gauge and the knit turning out exactly the size it should be, rather than sort of some teensy weensy little sweater that back in my no gauge swatch days I would end up with, and I would be like, why is this thing so small? And turns out it was because I wasn't doing a gauge swatch. So if you are like me and don't do a gauge, or didn't do a gauge swatch, I see you. But yes, so this is the second cloud sweater. Ate that. And while we're on the topic, a moment for my knitting bag. This is what I've been using as a knitting bag for the last year. Might I say it might be the best knitting bag? It's not meant for knitting. It's Land's End, or no, it's not Land's End. It's LL Bean. LL Bean boat tote in the smallest size with the short handles, and this is just the white on white version. I don't have anything written on it, but like, it is an incredible knitting bag. It's structured so it doesn't cave in. I have it with the zipper, so it holds the yarn in place. It sits right next to you. You can sort of pack it all up and carry it with you. I like the smaller version because it's perfect for sort of one project at a time, but if you wanted to carry around 2 projects at a time, perhaps get the one size bigger. And it's like $15. Like, it's a really reasonable bag. And also, LL Bean has the best return policies. They are such a good company. This is like, of course, I'm not sponsored by LL Bean. I'm just a huge fan of their products, particularly the boat tote. So if you need an idea, a gifting idea for yourself or a knitter in your life, perhaps consider a knitting bag from LL Bean, and you can personalize it with their embroidery or whatever, but it's a really good bag. Okay, so autumn knitting plans. I mentioned mittens at the beginning of this video. So I've knit the Vienna mitten by Petite Knit a few times. Okay, fall knitting plans, autumn knitting plans. Mittens, that's what I was talking about at the beginning of this video, and for good reason, because I have knit the Vienna mitten by Petite Knit a few times. Here she is. And I think it's a really great mitten. I do like how long it is. Feels long. Maybe I knitted a little bit longer than it needed to be. Could have been like this, but I like how long it is because I have some jackets with wider sleeves, and it makes for a really nice wear under. Like, I like how it sort of slips under, and I always thought it like seemed very chic to take it off and kind of like drape it over your arm like this. And I've knit it in Cardiff Cashmere, in the lighter of the two. I will link it down below. And I have like worn these all winter last winter, but I was thinking about like Christmas knitting plans, and I thought, well, maybe I'll knit some mittens, and maybe so as to keep myself engaged, I might knit a few new patterns, because I tend to stick to simple patterns because I like simple clothes. So I assume that other people also like simple clothes, but you know, sometimes it is worth venturing out of my comfort zone and knitting a new pattern. So this autumn, I was thinking about starting with the Arched Gusset Mittens by Purl Soho. And I really love the thumb construction detail. I love the Arched Gusset. And I do because it seems like just a little bit more of like an eye-catching piece than the Vienna mitten. And no shade to the Vienna mitten, but it seems like it just adds this element of detail that I think seems really manageable, and also like really pretty, and I think it'll look really pretty on my hands or my recipient's hands. And I think what I will knit it in is, there's something so luxurious about a cashmere mitten. So maybe I have expensive taste, but I was thinking about knitting these in either like a lilac, sort of like a lavender kind of color. I have some more of this brown yarn. Maybe I'll knit, one lucky person, a pair of mittens in this cashmere, Cardiff Cashmere yarn that I do have in my stash. I have a fair bit of cotton merino, which can be kind of nice for not super cold climates like London. I'm manifesting not the coldest winter, but who knows. So anyway, that's the Arched Gusset Mittens by Purl Soho, which is the first mitten on my list of mittens that I want to knit this autumn. The second pair of mittens that I want to knit are the Norwegian Mittens for Mimi by Anna Mazzarella. And this would be my first attempt at a color work mitten. I've never done, I guess I have done color work. I've done a stripy sweater, the Olga sweater by Petite Knit. But I haven't done any sort of like pattern color work. And I do wonder if it's harder on mittens because it's smaller than like a sweater, for instance, but I like them. I think they're really cute. You know, I love the white and blue. This Norwegian style mitten just seems like a really special gift to give someone because of the color work. It really kind of like takes it up a notch. It probably takes a little bit longer, maybe, but it might not, I don't know. It also seems really engaging, which I've been knitting a few I feel like the last few months I've been knitting sweaters and cardigans, and I love wearing sweaters and cardigans. I love gifting sweaters and cardigans, but there is something to say about the lack of engagement when you're just going around and around and around in the body, especially when it's one color that can be really great as like a mindless thing, but sometimes when your brain is wanting a little bit more activity, it can be more fun to have an active knit. So that's what I was thinking with the color work, and particularly with this pattern, that there's a different pattern on the outside than there is on the inside, and it just looks so cute. Like I'm just close your eyes and imagine that I'm wearing those beautiful Norwegian mittens, and I'd really be interested to know if any of you have knit colorwork mittens, and I'm really excited about this colorwork mitten, so perhaps you can follow me along on this journey. So the third thing on my my autumn knitting list is the Oli Mittens by Suzanne Mueller. And oh my gosh, these are chic mittens with the ribbing, the 2x2 ribbing, or no, I think it's just 1x1 ribbing. It's just 1x1 knit ribbing. So they have that sort of arched gusset like the Pearl Soho, but it's knitted completely in ribbing, and it looks so chic. These mittens look so chic. I think in like a brown, I would really like them in. I like that chocolate brown that is featured in the photo here. And there's something about a ribbed mitten that it's kind of unexpected, and it seems sort of special, and it seems very quietly detailed. And there are some people in my life that might prefer that over the colorwork mitten. And I too might be that person, even though this is a sidebar. I think knitting different sort of patterns or different styles has really like taken me out of my style comfort zone, which is typically like very plain, and I say plain in a kind way. I like sort of simple clothing, but knitting has opened me up to the world of color work and lace work and patterns and things that I might not have bought, but because I've made it, I will wear it, and there is something kind of special about that. Sidebar. But back to the Oli mittens, they just look so chic. I keep saying chic, 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 chic. But they do look really special and could be a really cute gift for a special person in my life. With the hat, which I think I'm going to make my next video on hats, because oh my gosh, isn't it so hard to find like the perfect hat pattern? I've certainly found that it's really hard to find the perfect hat pattern, and maybe it's just me, but I keep knitting hats too small, which they're either too long or too small, like too long or too short, or too tight or too loose. It's a really hard thing to get, and maybe I'm looking at the wrong patterns. If I am looking at the wrong hat patterns, do send your perfect hat pattern my way, because I would really appreciate that, and so would the lovely people in my life that are the recipients of hats that are too big or too small or too wide or too thin or whatever. More on that in my next video. But back to these ribbed mittens, I might move these up to the #1 spot now that I'm looking at them again. Although I do want to do the color work, so I can't with the color work with the Norwegian mittens. I'm sort of all over the place today, but I'm happy. Are you happy? I'm happy. We're chatting. So the fourth mitten, it would be the Cura mittens by Helena Dronen. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. I don't mean to insult. I'm just horrible at pronouncing names. I will list it down below. So these mittens, again, are that beautiful arched gusset construction. Can you tell that that's like clearly on my mind these days? And I like the very subtle kind of walk into color work mittens with these ones, because they're 2 colors and it sort of looks snowy almost. And what better time of year than Cura is I'm not pronouncing that right, so don't come at me for it, but it says in the description that it's the Finnish word for frost. So that makes sense because they look very frosty, they look very wintry, they look Christmassy. Like I kind of want to knit them in red and white or red and gray, green and gray, as pictured, because they just give Christmas vibes. And there's something about Christmas. I am the person that wants to start decorating for Christmas on October 1st. Although I will hold myself back to start decorating a little bit later, but there is something to say about a frosty mitten, and on a cold winter's day, a frosty mitten might be exactly what I need. So this, I think I could get to it. And maybe in like a Norwegian wool, I'm sort of thinking, but I don't know. This is on my autumn knitting list. The 5th mitten I want to talk about are the Better Together mittens by Sophie Hagginson, and they are sort of a very kind of simple, straightforward a simple, straightforward mitten with a twisted rib detailing that sort of reaches down past the wrist and onto the hand, sort of on a diagonal. And I think that is a really special little accent to add to a plainer, simpler style and shape of a mitten, which I've never thought so much about mittens as I have this morning. But now that I'm thinking deeply about them, with something super simple, there's really kind of something special about having these very small details here and there that kind of make this mitten different than another mitten, for example. And there's something very precious about that. So I like this mitten discussion we're having. And I think I would knit these mittens in cashmere, because a simple mitten kind of like begs for something soft and buttery like cashmere or maybe alpaca. But for some reason, there's something so luxurious about getting a cashmere mitten, gifting a cashmere mitten, that makes it just sort of kicks it up a notch. And it could be really, costly to knit a whole sweater in cashmere, but mittens, because you need just like a skein or two or a ball or two or whatever. So I think that I would knit these in maybe like the blue is very beautiful as per the pattern suggestion. And like most people wear kind of black or brown coats in the winter. So I think having a color could be really a special pop. Maybe in a red. Maybe a red would be really beautiful. Like there's that trend about the pop of red color, which I used to just be like, no, that is not for me. And now when I see it, I'm like, I love that pop of red. So perhaps the pop of red that I will be knitting for myself and gifting to others are red mittens. And it could be these Better Together mittens. So those were the 5 mittens that I want to knit this autumn. Will I get to all 5? I'm not totally sure, but I think I like thinking about this as inspo. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate you just hanging out, and I look forward to us sitting down together soon. So thanks. Bye, guys.